Get on the ground, hands behind your head.
Officer, take a breath and hear me out.
On the ground, you're under arrest.
I'm a federal agent. Verify my credentials.
Don't move, keep your hands visible.
Badge and firearm are on my left side. DEA agent Keisha Washington.
Yeah, I'm not convinced.
At 12:47 a.m. on a stormy Saturday night in Houston, Officer Derek Malone was seconds away from the most catastrophic mistake of his 9-year career. He believed he had just stumbled onto a high-profile narcotics arrest, the kind that would finally earn him the promotion he had been denied 4 times. Instead, he was about to draw his weapon on a federal agent with 16 years of elite field experience, advanced tactical certifications, and absolutely no tolerance for officers who let ego, racism, or sexism distort their judgment. Malone had no idea the black woman standing in his headlights had dismantled international trafficking rings. He didn't know she spoke 4 languages fluently. He didn't know she held dual black belts in combat disciplines. He didn't know she had testified before Senate committees on border intelligence. He didn't know her phone contained direct numbers for U.S. attorneys, senior federal judges, and confidential assets whose safety depended on her silence. And he definitely didn't realize that every second of his meltdown was being recorded on his department-issued body camera, footage that would soon be dissected by federal prosecutors, internal affairs, and a disciplinary tribunal that would question whether he ever deserved a badge. Special Agent Imani Brooks of the Drug Enforcement Administration had been undercover for 7 months, infiltrating a trafficking pipeline stretching from Houston to New Orleans. At 40, she was one of the agency's most decorated field operatives. Hundreds of arrests, millions in seizures, 0 failed operations. That night, she had just concluded a meeting with a confidential informant at a 24-hour diner in a crime-heavy district. She dressed to disappear, dark denim, leather jacket, natural curls tucked into a protective style. She looked like she belonged. That was Malone's first mistake. He had been patrolling aggressively, hunting for numbers to pad his statistics. Former academy classmates had become detectives and lieutenants. He was still working nights. Instead of confronting his mediocre reports, unnecessary escalations, and documented complaints from female colleagues, he built a narrative. Diversity initiatives were holding him back. When he saw Imani walking alone across the parking lot, his bias filled in the blanks. Black woman, high crime area, late night. In his mind, that equaled criminal. He activated his lights and rolled in fast. Imani noticed immediately. She also noticed the tension in his posture, the premature hand near his holster, the aggressive stride. This wasn't a lawful stop based on reasonable suspicion. This was a man who had already decided she was guilty. Get on the ground. Hands behind your head. Malone barked. She didn't move. Officer, lower your voice and think carefully about what you're doing, she said calmly. That composure infuriated him. He heard authority in her tone. Authority he didn't think she had the right to claim. You're under arrest. For what charge? She asked. He had none. She made her move strategically. I'm a federal agent. My credentials are on my left side. Announce your badge number and proceed correctly. A competent officer would have reassessed. Malone escalated. Don't move. I'm not buying whatever story you're selling. She slowly displayed her badge and service weapon. DEA. Special Agent Imani Brooks. He stared at it, and then dismissed it. Yeah? That's convenient. Then he said it. A girl like you? Federal. The body camera captured everything. Imani's voice never wavered. You are making a serious error. He doubled down. Put that phone away. You're interfering. What investigation? She replied. You have not articulated reasonable suspicion of any crime. He had no answer. Instead, I'm in charge here. She corrected him with surgical precision. No, officer. The law is in charge. And the law requires reasonable suspicion for detention, probable cause for arrest, and recognition of federal authority regardless of your personal bias. Every word was professional, controlled, devastating. Malone demanded to speak to her supervisor. She smiled slightly. Absolutely. 2 rings. Brooks, this better be critical, came the gravelly voice of Special Agent in Charge Victor Hale. Sir, a local officer is challenging my federal credentials and issuing unlawful arrest commands. The temperature shifted instantly. Put him on. Malone identified himself from the Houston Police Department. Officer, Hale said, voice hard as steel, you are detaining a federal agent engaged in an authorized operation. Release her immediately or I will contact your chief and the Civil Rights Division of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Malone muttered something about suspicious behavior. How? Hale asked. A pause. She didn't look like she belonged. Silence. Release her, Hale repeated. The call ended. Imani stepped closer. Your problem isn't that women or minorities are advancing. Your problem is that you are not performing at the level required. Bias is not a substitute for competence. Malone muttered. You people always. She cut in gently. Thank you. That's clear enough for the recording. 16 minutes. That's all it took. 3 days later, Malone filed a complaint against her, claiming she had intimidated him. Internal Affairs called Imani. They had already reviewed the body cam. But she brought her own recording, one that captured his muttered racial remarks after she drove off. The investigation uncovered a pattern: disproportionate stops of black women, dismissed charges, multiple prior complaints quietly buried. When questioned, Malone repeated himself. She didn't belong there. The report recommended termination and referral for federal civil rights review. Before discipline was finalized, the footage was released through a public records request. It went viral. National analysts dissected it frame by frame. Law enforcement trainers began using it as instructional material. Civil rights organizations cited it as textbook bias-driven policing failure. Within a week, Malone was terminated. The FBI opened a civil rights case. He eventually pleaded guilty to violating civil rights under color of law. He lost his certification. He served federal time. His law enforcement career ended permanently. Imani Brooks? She was promoted to supervisory special agent 6 months later. Her handling of the encounter became mandatory viewing in DEA leadership seminars. Her career accelerated. Houston PD implemented federal oversight reviews, bias auditing, and an early warning complaint tracking system. One officer's ego triggered reform across an entire department. The lesson was brutal and simple. Malone believed authority came from a badge and skin color. Imani knew authority came from law, competence, and discipline. He tried to assert dominance. She demonstrated mastery. He exposed his prejudice. She exposed his inadequacy. In 16 minutes, character was revealed, hierarchy was clarified, and careers split in opposite directions. Excellence does not argue with bias. It outperforms it.